Hello readers, welcome back. Today I'm gonna be doing a tier ranking. It'll be my first one, so hopefully this turns out okay. If you hear anything in the background, my husband's in the shower and has been playing music, so there's that. But, as you may know, as a reader, assuming you're a reader because you're watching this video or you want to be a reader, you may be aware that Grady Hendrix's My Best Friend's Exorcism just came out as a movie. I have some thoughts, but I decided why not do a tier ranking of book to movie adaptations, because everyone says the book is better. That is the blanket statement. What everyone seems to believe is that the book is always better. I'm here to tell you the unpopular opinion that I don't think that's true. Oftentimes, the book is better, but not always, and I think I have some movies here that might change your mind. For the record, I don't watch the most movies. I'm not a movie connoisseur. I have watched many movies. I'm not going to do every book to movie adaptation that I've ever seen, but I'm going to do most of them. Tastes in movies differ wildly, so you're probably not going to agree with me on a lot of these, but regardless, I thought it would be fun. There are also 2 TV shows that I went ahead and popped in here. Also, there are a couple of books that I have not read that I included on this list of book to movie adaptations simply because of what I have heard. Specifically one that I want to talk about. There's also like a TV show that I haven't really watched much of, but I went ahead and included it in here because I have some thoughts. So let's get started. So for my tier rankings, I decided to rate them by tropes that I like or dislike. So at the bottom here, we have resurrection. We don't like resurrection. Resurrection sucks. Tell me a resurrection that happens in a book and I will tell you that it's awful and doesn't need to be there. I hate resurrection tropes more than any other book trope, even love triangles, which is why love triangles are second to last. Love triangles, it's like, they exist. I'm not happy about it, but they exist. Show me a love triangle, I'll tell you that I was not a big fan. Also, love triangles tend to be pretty obvious. Then here in the middle, we have The Chosen One. It's another one where it's a trope. It exists. Is it super overdone? Absolutely. We need to change up this Chosen One trope a little bit. But that said, it's not always the worst trope. Like, I have hated some Chosen One stories and I have loved some Chosen One stories. So we're gonna go ahead and put it in the middle here. Next up, we have seclusion. I love a good seclusion story. No Exit by Taylor Adams is just amazing. Give me all of the seclusion recommendations. I love it. I'm here for it. Then at the top, this was almost something different. So I went ahead and put Strong Woman Who Don't Need No Man. I am not a huge romance reader. I'm starting to admit that I do like romance, but I tend to like romance in romance books where romance is the point. If you have a bigger story or if you have like a different genre that you're writing in, I'd rather just skip the romance. The romance is not the important part to me, so I went ahead and titled this Strong Woman Who Don't Need No Man because I love a book with a great woman character or a great friendship between a woman and other people that just doesn't include romance. But I almost titled this Keira Knightley because Keira Knightley is like peak. We love her. We love to see her. Every book to movie adaptation that I have seen her in, I have loved. I didn't put Pride and Prejudice in here because obviously it's amazing. We all know this. We don't need to argue this. And like Strong Woman Who Don't Need No Man, it was just made for Keira Knightley. Yes, I realize she has a man in that book. Just stick with it. Just keep going with it. Also, I did not include Anna Karenina in here. I thought the movie was awesome. I love how it was set up as like a stage play, but as a movie. I have not read the book, and that is a book that I don't feel comfortable judging according to this list, unlike some other books that I feel completely comfortable judging, even though I haven't read them. Specifically one, which we're gonna get to. So we're gonna go ahead and start with My Best Friend's Exorcism. Is it a strong woman who don't need no man? Is it a resurrection? Well, I am actually gonna go ahead and put it in Love Triangle. Like, this movie exists. It got the plot points. It hit those plot points. It did fine with that. But the acting, subpar. Absolutely subpar. I don't know if it was the actors or if it was the writing or if it was the CGI or what, but the acting was subpar. It hit the plot points though, like it did the assignment chosen one trope. Say what you will about the movie. Also, people who say that they haven't read the book and they really enjoyed the movie, I still don't get it, because even if you haven't read the book, I don't think it's a good movie, but it's not the worst movie. So, Love Triangle. Let's do another interesting one. Gone Girl. Now, in looking up book to movie adaptations, because I wanted to make sure I got some important ones, this one has apparently ranked pretty low, which was surprising to me because I really liked it. I liked the book. I liked the movie. I think that they complement each other pretty well. So I'm actually gonna put Gone Girl in seclusion because I had a good time with that movie. I had a good time with that book. It's not my absolute favorite on this list, so it's not quite Strong Woman Who Don't Need No Man, but it definitely makes the seclusion tier. Then let's talk about Gone with the Wind. I grew up with this movie. I didn't watch it nearly as much as I watched Titanic, but I watched it. It's a little too long, for sure, but it's also a really long book. And I know that the author has her issues and the story has its issues and the filming and the actors had their issues, but I had a good time with it. I have read the book, I have watched the movie, I had a good time. It's a little exhausting, so I think we're gonna put it in chosen one because of the various issues with it and because of the length, but also it's better than Love Triangle and Resurrection by far. So chosen one feels like a nice medium spot for it. Another one that seemed to really divide people was Bird Box. Now, I'm gonna tell you right now, Sandra Bullock, she's up there with Keira Knightley. She can do no wrong. She is a queen. We love her. Bird Box, I watched Bird Box before I read the book, which that's true for a lot of these, where I watched the movie before I tried reading the book. And I enjoyed both. I think I was actually a slightly bigger fan of the movie because it's kind of like slow and quiet enough as a book that the movie just captured my attention a little more. It kind of depends on the story. Sometimes I'm more of a visual person, sometimes I'm more of a book person. But I'm going to go ahead and pop this little gal into seclusion because I had a thoroughly good time. I think it did a really great job interpreting the book. I enjoyed it. Your opinion may differ, but I enjoyed it. Then we have The Virgin Suicides. This one gets complicated. I have read the book and I have watched the movie. It's not my favorite Jeffrey Eugenides. I know he tends to be a bit of a pretentious writer. People have very differing opinions on his books. Virgin Suicides was not my favorite book of his. It was just so slow and quiet, and I'm not a literary enough person to totally understand it, but I'm keeping it on my shelves anyways because I just have a soft spot for Jeffrey Eugenides. The Virgin Suicides, I think, was a really well done movie considering the material they had to work with. I think they captured the male gaziness of it. Say what you will about the topic, but I think it was a really great book to movie adaptation. We're gonna put it in seclusion, as far as interpretation. My enjoyment, well, actually, with my enjoyment, it might be more chosen one because I actually like to have some explanation of things. Yeah, okay, I'll change my mind. We'll put it in chosen one. We'll say it's solidly mid-tier. Next up, let's do one that really made me angry. So in high school, the book to read was My Sister's Keeper. Cameron Diaz is great. She's charming. We like her, but was it her best movie? Absolutely not. The book, I read the book years before the movie came out. I've read it a couple of times, and yes, it's very sad. It's very dramatic. It's got a lot to it, but it was a good book. It was one of Jodi Picoult's best still to this day. The movie, The movie is going to get popped here into the resurrection tier because if you have read the book, you know how this story ends, and the movie butchered it. The movie ending is completely different from the book ending, which makes absolutely no sense. I think the book ending was actually a lot better than the movie ending. Sometimes that's not true, like apparently with The Mist, the movie, Stephen King praised the hell out of that movie. I hate that movie. Because of that ending, I hate that movie. But my point is, sometimes you can change the ending, but this was not the case. My Sister's Keeper should have kept the original ending. It was not a well-made movie. It was not well acted. No, absolutely resurrection trope. Now, let's talk about a duo here. We're going to talk about the Stepford Wives. I have a review on the Stepford Wives book. I've also read The Husbands, which is flip side of Stepford Wives, where the women are the ones who are in control. So, if you look at the movie that everyone knows for the Stepford Wives, the one with Nicole Kidman, I'm kind of indifferent, so I'll probably pop it into Chosen One. It absolutely did not stick to the original story, but this was a case where I actually like that the ending was changed because the ending of this movie made me feel better than the ending of the book did. However, when it comes to the original Stepford Wives movie, the 70s version, this was creepy as hell. It took that book material and it ran with it. We got a strong woman who don't need no man. That movie was phenomenal. It stuck to the material. It did a great job of presenting it. It didn't change anything. It made me incredibly uncomfortable. So absolutely top tier. Let's do a very well-known one. I feel like a lot of people don't realize that this was a book first. We have Michael Crichton and Jurassic Park. I have watched all of the Jurassic Park movies. I have not watched a single Jurassic World movie. I probably will because I kind of want to see the old cast in the new movie. The original movies were fine. Movie 2 was wild and absolutely not really related to the books. Movie 3 was more like... So the second movie was titled The Lost World, and the second book was titled The Lost World. But the third movie is much more like The Lost World book, whereas the Lost World movie just ran wild and did whatever the hell it wanted to do. As a franchise, I mean, I would probably stick with Chosen One. Like, it's taken the material, it's kind of stuck to it, expanded on it, it's fine. I prefer the book. When it comes to the original movie, like, it was a very good movie, but do I like it more than the book? Absolutely not. So it kind of goes between these two, but I think I'm going to go ahead and pop it into Seclusion because I had a good time with that movie. The book is better, but I had a good time with that movie. Then The Martian. The Martian made waves as a book. The Martian made waves as a movie. The adaptations, I watched the movie before I read the book. And I think that this is absolutely one of the best book-to-movie adaptations. Up there with Strong Woman Who Don't Need No Man. It did a great job of representing the material. The cat just came in. He's probably searching for food. Okay, so yes, The Martian, phenomenal. We love it. I remember there being some sort of running joke at the time on, like, if Matt Damon's movies were real, how much money would America have spent in trying to save him? I need to try and find that again, because it was very funny. Next up, let's do Room. I read Room so many times before the movie came out. Brie Larson, she's charming. We like her. The book is still better. Like, the book will absolutely be better. The movie was good. I think it did good with what it had. I think there should have been more to the movie. There were, like, certain turns of phrase that the kid used, and there was just a certain... je ne sais quoi, I guess, about the book that the movie didn't quite get, but like, it was solid. Probably gonna go with Chosen One. Like, it wasn't quite up there with Gone Girl and Bird Box, but it's definitely better than My Best Friend's Exorcism. So, I'm gonna say it's solidly mid-tier with Chosen One. We're gonna get a lot of those, I think. Then Practical Magic, because it's spooky season, oh my gosh. Again, a lot of people people on BookTube are very aware that Practical Magic was a book first. The general audience, I don't think knows that Practical Magic was a book first. This is gonna be one of those cases where, like, I like the movie better. The book is very kind of slow. It's a little more literary. When I read the book, I was just getting, it was the first time I ever had read Alice Hoffman's writing style. Wasn't totally sure on it. As a series, love it. I don't know that I would want to see more movies made of like the rest of the series, but as far as the original movie, absolutely strong woman who don't need no man. Not only does it fulfill that trope, but it fulfills that tier. Love this. I actually did like it better than the book. I really enjoyed the book, but I liked the movie better. Next up, let's do a TV show. We have Handmaid's Tale. So I read Handmaid's Tale in college, and I read it again a couple years later, and I think it is a very good book. It takes things from history and includes them in the story. Ignore the background noise as my cat uses the bathroom. The TV show, I'll be honest, I have only watched the first half of season 1. This is something where the difference between visual and page media are very different for me. I really enjoyed the book. I liked what it had to say. It made me uncomfortable, but I wasn't super into dystopian books until I read The Handmaid's Tale. Handmaid's Tale changed that for me. That made me realize that I will only read a dystopia if it has a woman author, because something about male authors in dystopias make me too uncomfortable, and I feel like there's a lot of elements, particularly of women's lives, that they're really just missing out on. So yeah. Handmaid's Tale as a show makes me incredibly uncomfortable. I'm gonna wait for him. You done? Okay. Handmaid's Tale, yes. The show makes me incredibly uncomfortable. While that is a good thing, while I think it talks about and shows things that are important, I personally cannot watch it. It's just one of those things, it started with horror, but like particularly with Handmaid's Tale. I watch horror now, certain kinds of horror. But with Handmaid's Tale, I cannot sit through that TV show. It makes me uncomfortable in a way that could just rocket my depression down to the bottom of the barrel. It completely makes me lose hope in the world. Like, I cannot sit through this. Because of that, it's gonna rank pretty high, but I think I want to put it in seclusion because there is so much that they added to the show that isn't in the book that I think it could have been like a limited series rather than having as many seasons as it does, but I do think it is done very well. I should also say, as far as TV shows, I'm not putting Game of Thrones in this. I will never read the books. I have no interest in reading the books. I didn't finish the TV series, so I don't really have a lot of thoughts. So that's a really well-known one that I'm actually not going to include in this list. Then let's go with a franchise. Lord of the Rings. I have thoughts. Lord of the Rings is a strong woman who don't need no man. I am one of those, apparently I have the unpopular opinion. I couldn't do it with the books. In high school, I made it through, like halfway through the third book, but really I was just reading it for the sake of saying that I'd read it, and I was not enjoying myself, and I was getting really lost. I wasn't into it. I know that Tolkien's son has his own ideas. He actually really hates the movies. I love the movies. Also, there's the nostalgia of it. I watch this movie with my mom, like, every single year. We watch the extended editions. We watch the interviews together. It was a lifestyle. So, strong woman who don't need no man, for sure. Next up in the franchise, the Hobbit Triangle. It's not the worst, it's definitely not the best. I think it's interesting that they expanded on the material according to other things that Tolkien had said in other writings. But when you have a movie franchise as phenomenal as Lord of the Rings, like same director and everything, and then you go and make The Hobbit, which, even considering the time difference there, Lord of the Rings CGI is better. The practical effects were used to a much higher advantage. The acting for The Hobbit was good. Besides that, was not a fan. So we're gonna put The Hobbit in Love Triangle. The book was better, for sure. The Princess Bride is another one that I don't know that a ton of people really realize that it was a book first. The movie was great. I grew up on the movie. But when I read the book, we're gonna pop Princess Bride into seclusion. It's great. I'm not denying its greatness. But the book is better. The book has all of these parentheses throughout that are just expanding on these absolutely needless details, and I'm here for it. I love it. I think that the movie does a great job with the story and with the comedy, but I think the book is even funnier and even better, so great together. I do prefer the book. Another series that we could look at, Irobot. Series as in book series. I have read most of the Robot series. I am rereading it currently so I can actually finish the Robot series. I did watch the movie for years before I read the books. The movie was good as a movie, for me. I realize that that's not a very popular opinion. I enjoyed the movie thoroughly. Now that I've read most of the series, like, as far as its interpretations of the book, it's down here in Love Triangle or Resurrection. Standing on its own, I enjoy it enough to put it up in, like, Chosen One, but this is book to movie adaptation, so we're probably gonna have to go with Resurrection. It took some of the ideas from the stories in the books and then went off in its own direction, so not the best. I do enjoy it as a movie, but for a book-to-movie adaptation, no. Let's do another pair here. So we have a series of unfortunate events. I believe I was reading the series, because I don't know that the books were finished yet when the movie came out with Jim Carrey. As a movie, I think it's entertaining. It did one of those stupid things where it takes a bunch of the books and tries to fit them into one movie, which was not good. But the main reason I was upset with this movie, at least as a kid, was that it didn't ever even try to finish the series. Maybe the movie was just unpopular enough that it didn't have enough money. But also, it mashed up the books, and we don't like mashing up all the books into one piece. So gonna go ahead and pop it into Resurrection there. The TV series. First off, may we say Neil Patrick Harris. Second point, Patrick Warburton. Patrick Warburton is gold standard. I do think the books were still better, so we're gonna pop her into seclusion, but that TV series did an amazing, phenomenal job. It really did. But I did like the books better. But I feel like I'm being picky here, so we'll pop it into Strong Woman Who Don't Need No Man. We'll give it a bump up. The new Pet Sematary, I want to put it in Resurrection, but because it has John Lithgow, solely because it has John Lithgow, we're gonna pop it into Love Triangle. I realize I'm breaking some rules here, but it's John Lithgow. He did an amazing job. The original Pet Sematary would go into Resurrection, because generally Pet Sematary should be in Resurrection. There is so much grief and so much exploration of grief throughout this book, and there's grief behind the book in the reason that the book was written in the first place. And the new movie, I think, did a little bit better with the grief aspects of it, but it's so, the movie franchise I haven't even seen the second one of the originals. The movie franchise is so focused on the horror that it completely forgets the whole point of the story. So those movies are going down here at the bottom. Let's do Twilight. I read the books in high school. I watched all of the movies. Honestly, popping it up in seclusion. Not because I think they were great movies and not because I think they were great books. They were mediocre books at best. They were mediocre movies at best. But the books being adapted to the movies did a pretty solid job. They were equally mediocre. They included all of the major plot points. They had hot guys at the time. So I think seclusion is fair, you know? Really just slightly better than middle tier. Aragon. Anyone else remember watching this movie? I never finished this series. I think I had made it towards the end of book 2. But I read book 1. And I watched this movie when it came out. And it is absolute trash. It is the actual trash. It's not even recycling. It's just plain trash. Don't watch the movie. Don't torture yourself like that. We're gonna do another duo. I can't remember if there were only 2 Flowers in the Attic adaptations or if there were more than that. I have read the first 3 books. I think it was a 5-book series because the 5th one explored the grandmother's life. So I've read most of the books. I have seen most, if not all, of the 2 movies. I know I watched the original and I watched part of the new one. And I'm gonna go with Love Triangle for both of these because, again, it hit all of the right plot points, but they're really just low quality movies. If you bumped up the finances just a little bit, I think that the acting, the writing, all of that could have been a lot better, but it hits the points. It gets the point of the story across. But the other thing is that Flowers in the Attic is a series, and if you're going to go ahead and adapt it, I think you should really just go for it and do the entire series. When a movie, kind of like with Unfortunate Events, if you have a movie that wants to explore books but only adapts the first one and never even bothers with the others, what was the point of doing the adaptation in the first place? And then lastly, this is a book that most people don't realize exists. This is a book-to-movie adaptation that I feel incredibly passionate about. Folks, we are going to talk about Forrest Gump. This is going to be the one. I grew up on this movie. This movie is nostalgia. This movie is phenomenal. We've got Tom Hanks. We've got chocolate. We've got the name of the woman who played his mother, who's phenomenal. I want to say Sally Ride. Am I getting that wrong? Anyways, there is a book. The first book was written. Then the movie was created, which pissed off the author. So he wrote the second book as revenge on the movie. I refuse to read this book on principle. Not only have I read enough about the book to know that the movie is better, but the fact that the second book was written as revenge for the movie is a great story. But regardless, Forrest Gump is a strong woman who don't need no man. This movie is just peak. Is it really a great book-to-movie adaptation? Well, as far as staying true to the book, it would probably be more like in Chosen One. But because it's a phenomenal movie and a trash book series, strong woman who don't need no man. Absolutely. So please tell me in the comments down below what you think of this. Go ahead and roast me if you want. I know that my taste in movies isn't always the best. I'm not a movie connoisseur. I am more of a book reader than a movie watcher. I've watched a lot of movies, but I know I have unpopular opinions on the subject. Also, tell me your favorite or least favorite book-to-movie adaptations down below, or movies and books that you would have included that I did not. Tell me all the things. Please like, subscribe, be my friend on social media. I will catch all of you in my next video. Bye, friends.